Republicans really missed their chance with regard to the proper battle against President Obama and his eventual nomination of a new Supreme Court justice. All they had to do was go back and take to heart the wise words of one Don Corleone from the obvious documentary, The Godfather, when the Don slapped his kid and admonished him, "Never tell anyone what you are thinking." And the reasons are obvious, or at least they should be. Leading us to 5 obvious reasons why Republicans should not fear the SCOTUS tussle. Who replaces Antonin Scalia? And maybe then leading to the conclusion there was absolutely no logical reason for Godfather 3. We'll get to that later. Welcome back, senior editor at the Federalist and author of the article Opinion, 5 Reasons Why Republicans Shouldn't Fear a SCOTUS Fight, David Harsanyi. David, thanks so much for joining us. By the way, right off the top, no reason for Godfather 3, right?
Not really, no, unfortunately.
long as we get that all taken care of here. It's a fascinating article because there are so many people saying that the Republicans screwed up on this. Let me start by this. I want to get to the 5 points, but quickly. What the Godfather said there. Never tell anyone what you were thinking. Fair to say that if Mitch McConnell and everybody else basically just said, "Yes, Mr. President, bring us your nominee. We'll look at the nominee. We'll go through the process." But they started this. Maybe they should have just let it come to them first instead of throwing out the gauntlet, if you will.
Well, I actually disagree a little bit. I think that by preemptively saying that you're not even going to look at anyone that he throws at you, you essentially make it a fight between yourself and Barack Obama, and you make it a fight about a referendum about his last 7 years. So the problem with dealing with someone that he sends is that you're going to actually have to deal with the nominee. He could send you someone that doesn't have a paper trail, that hasn't had a lot of decisions, that is sort of maybe a progressive, but we don't know it. And for Republicans who want to have this fight, I'm not sure that that's the best way to go because they're not really good at that fight. It will entail identity politics and all these things that they've sort of failed on before.
Okay, let's get to your 5 reasons here. First, obstructionism will not sink the GOP. And you say Republicans don't need to freak out about the potential political blowback over obstructionism. Yes?
Right. I mean, we've been hearing about how obstructionism was going to undermine the Republicans' chances over and over again. There were 2 wave elections. They've won the House, they won the Senate, they've won over 900 seats in state legislatures. I'm not sure that obstructionism, first of all, what's obstructionism? I don't think Republicans are more at fault for that than Obama. I think they're just disagreeing on things. So they shouldn't listen, you can be ham-fisted about it and do a bad job, but obstructionism, just because it's obstructionism, is not going to sink them, no.
Number 2, better to lose later than lose now. Explain.
Well, there's this theory that if they preemptively stonewall Barack Obama now, and even if they stop him, they will lack the sort of power and the capital to do it when Hillary Clinton is president, and then she'll have a free hand to put someone on the court who's even worse. Nothing in our recent history tells me that Barack Obama is not going to put a progressive forward, and even if he doesn't, I'm not Hillary could still lose the election. I mean, for Republicans to act like they're certain losers is bad advice. I think you win every battle one at a time. And we don't know what's going to happen after this election, so there's no reason to surrender now for something we don't even know will happen.
I got 2 minutes left and 3 to go. I'm going to put numbers 3 and 5 together. 3, this is not unprecedented. Everyone knows it. You're exactly right there. And number 5, the GOP has no choice. Pretty much made that case, haven't you?
Well, if they surrender here, I think it's going to blow up the party worse than it already is. You have these factions, and all of these factions are essentially the rise of Donald Trump has a lot to do with the perception that people have that this party doesn't fight for them, that this party gives up all the time. I think it's overdone, but sometimes they don't, and this is a perfect example of them not having to surrender, a situation where they don't need to surrender. So if they do in the middle of an election like this, it is going to get really ugly. At least that's my perception of this.
I'll get to number 4 in a moment. Here's the setup. Here is President Obama and what he expects from the Senate in confirming whomever he nominates. Here we go.
I think that we have more than enough time to go through regular order, regular processes. I intend to nominate somebody, to present them to the American people, to present them to the Senate. I expect them to hold hearings. I expect there to be a vote.
I got about 45 seconds, David. Number 4, voters don't want a more progressive court. You point out a 2015 CNN poll found that 37% of Americans thought the Supreme Court was already too liberal. We don't hear enough of that news, do we?
Right. I think Americans naturally, organically gravitate towards splitting the government into, right, left. But I have to say, for him to say that after he himself tried to filibuster Alito in 2007 or whenever it was, is such hypocrisy, it's amazing. And Chuck Schumer made an argument that there should be a blanket stop of Bush nominees. Now, everyone's a hypocrite. I understand that, but no constitutional duty to make sure this goes smoothly for him. None. He's already had 2 judges. This is about checks and balances in government. And if Republicans believe that he has contempt for the Constitution or has abused his power, they have a responsibility not to let him change the ideological complexion of that court.
And welcome once again to politicians, all of whom have short memories, especially when Chuck Schumer says, don't use me as an example. Sorry, Chuck. It's already there, as a matter of fact. The article again, 5 reasons Republicans shouldn't fear a SCOTUS fight. It's at thefederalist.com. David Harsanyi, thanks so much for joining us. There is nothing quite as useless as a poll this time of year, and the evidence could be right in front of us for Saturday night. Hardline continues.